news in the student loan space today. We want to talk about this extension of the IDR waiver and what does that mean for you? What is it and who does it apply to? And so we're breaking down that all with you today. But if this is your first time joining us, welcome. My name is Michael Foley. I'm a son of two doctors, a certified financial planner and student loan professional. And really, the goal with Lifestyle Creep is really just to meet you where you're at in your finances and really help healthcare workers to be inspired to live more humble and quiet lives. But let's start in. Let's dive in. Talk a little bit about this new IDR waiver and what does that mean. But I think before we even can into breaking down what that even is, let's talk a little bit about the different ways that we can repay our loans in the federal loan space, because I think we have to understand that in order to understand what this update even is. So when we're looking at getting rid of your federal student loans, you got to take one of three paths, right? We're either going to pay them off, right? We're just going to, not a lot of rocket science to that. We're just going to say, hey, we want to pay off our loans over a certain period of time, and you just pay it off, right? Option two is we go for what's called a long-term taxable forgiveness route. So this is a route that you pay based off of your income and your household size for a period of 20 or 25 years, depending on with a loan type that you have and which program that you're in. But then when you get to the end, if you still have a balance remaining at the end, then all of the balance is forgiven for you. But the big star asterisk on that is that all of that forgiven amount for you is added as taxable income to you in that final year of distribution. So if you still have $100,000 of loans outstanding that get forgiven, it's going to show to the IRS as if you just made an extra $100,000 that year in that final year of distribution. So we're going to have a big tax bill associated with that. So we need to make sure we're planning for that, right? So that's option two. Option three is we pursue what we call a tax-free forgiveness program. So there's several out there, but the quintessential is the public service loan forgiveness program. And so that's where you also have to be on an income-driven plan, but you got to be paying based off your income and your household size, but instead of having to go 20 or 25 years, you can be done at 10 years as long as you've been working at a qualified institution. So if you can match up 10 years or 120 months, doesn't have to be consecutive, as long as you match up 120 months of while you're in an income-driven repayment plan, then your loans can be done at 10 years and there's no tax bill on it. So that's what we call the tax-free forgiveness program, right? Maybe state taxes associated, but there's no federal taxes, which is the big deal, right? So if we look at that now, what is this new IDR waiver? Well, a little bit of a history for you is that a lot of these forgiveness programs, option two and option three, didn't even start until close to like 2007, 2008, right? And that's when we started the direct loan program. And so, but before that, the Department of Ed was kind of dipping their toe in the water as far as student loans, and they didn't really want to put their money where their mouth was yet. And so what they did is they actually sourced money from private banks, like big banks like Wells Fargo. And what they did is they sourced money and they routed it through the Department of Ed, and then they spit it out in a federal loan. But these are what are called commercially held federal loans. And so these commercially held federal loans are also known as the Federal Family Education Loan Program. So for short, we call them the FFEL loans. So many of our clients that took out loans prior to the 2008 will have these types of loans, right? But they realized that they wanted to start all these forgiveness plans, but none of them, they couldn't implement them if they were having to forgive somebody else's money, aka Wells Fargo. So they said, this is a terrible idea, so let's just fund our own loans. And so that was the genesis of the direct loan program. And so in that 2008 is when they started that direct loan program. And then from there, what they just said, well, we don't want to leave everybody who has these FFEL loans hanging, and so we'll allow you to consolidate over into the direct loan program at that time. And then you can start accumulating credit towards your public service loan forgiveness 10 years or that 20 or 25 year mark at that time, right? But instead of doing that, what a lot of these loan servicers did was they just encouraged people to stay with their FFEL loan programs. And if you were struggling to make a payment, they would say, hey, why don't you just go into forbearance or just defer on your loans, but you don't need to consolidate, right? Because if they told you to consolidate, guess who's not making money on you anymore, right? Their loan servicers would not have you as a client and therefore not making any money for you. And so therefore a lot of people were not instructed to start into the direct loan program at that time. So as of a couple years ago, they came out with this IDR waiver. And so what they said, this is essentially the Department of Education's nod at, hey, yeah, there were some things that were not right done in the past, and so we're sorry about that. But now we're going to give you a waiver, a short period of time that if you decide you have some of these older loans or some of these other loans that don't qualify for the forgiveness, and which has to be a direct loan, right? We'll allow you to consolidate your loans and group it all into a direct loan. But typically when you do that, you're starting a whole new loan. So you're starting fresh on your 20 years or 25 years or your 10 years. So usually consolidation is a little scary, right? When we go and do that because we're starting from scratch. But what they're saying is that if you do that by the end of this waiver, then we're going to go back and we're going to look at all of your loans, regardless of if they're direct loans or FEL loans, and we're going to find whichever loans in the bunch has the longest loan history, and we're going to credit your new direct loan with that loan history. So that's huge, right? Because a lot of people, should have been instructed back in 2008, to be doing that, and then they would have all of this credit, but if you were to do that without this waiver, you'd be starting from scratch towards some of these forgiveness programs. So this is really opening up a huge door for a lot of our clients that maybe have been paying on their loans for, 20, 25 years, maybe in the late 90s, right? And they're probably a lot closer to that 20 or 25 years of forgiveness than you might think if you do this consolidation, right? So that's a huge opportunity that we want you looking at to see if you've been in repayment or think you've been in repayment on your loans for a long time. Even if you have a super low interest rate, you might be able to actually be a lot closer to that forgiveness time than you might think. And so even if you also are, have some of our physician clients have really high incomes right now, which is awesome. And so they might think, oh, well, I'm not going to qualify for any of this. Well, first of all, you might actually already be across the finish line. So if we just do the consolidation, they're going to process your forgiveness, right? So that would be fantastic. But second is there's other repayment plans that are loosely based off of your income, but not entirely based off your income, that will buy us kind of maybe like a 6-year period of time that we can continue making income-driven payments that will still allow you to realize some forgiveness if you're close to that deadline, right? The other big category of people that are really benefiting from this are if you're, maybe a resident or a fellow. We see a lot of our clients that maybe took out undergraduate loans and then, maybe before going into medical school had maybe a year or two, maybe they did some research or, they worked at some qualifying organization, right? As long as they were working at a nonprofit full time. Sometimes they might have had to go into repayment on their undergrad loans before they even took out the medical school loans, right? But now what we can do is if we consolidate those loans before the end of the waiver here, what are they going to do? Well, they're going to merge all of those loans together, and then they're going to look back at, in the bunch, which of your loans has the longest loan history, right? And they're going to credit the whole new consolidation with that long of a history. So if you think about it, you might be able to be getting credit for public service loan forgiveness program on some of the loan for time that you were working before you even took out your medical school loan. So this whole thing makes no sense, right? It's a totally crazy opportunity, but want to make sure that you're aware of it, because if we can get another year or maybe 2 years counted towards your forgiveness, that's a huge opportunity. So we definitely want to make sure that people are aware of this, because it's a kind of a complicated space, and so hopefully this has been helpful to kind of break it down for you. So, but if you already have all direct loans, not really much we need to do unless one of those loans has a lot longer loan history than the others that we want to get credit for. We have until April 30th to make that change. But if you've already also consolidated your loans and it's all in a direct consolidation loan, we're good. No worries. No need to do anything. You've already done what was needed to get that credit, and that should be applied appropriately. But if you have other questions, feel free to reach out. But please make sure that your friends and colleagues know about this, because even if they've kind of swept their loans under the rug for some time, this could be a really good opportunity for some savings for them that they might not even realize. So we're happy to take a look under the hood just to see if you would even qualify for it. But we got to make sure that that consolidation application gets in prior to April 30th now in order to be eligible for this program. So But thanks so much for taking the time, and hope this has been a valuable use of your time and helping break down all the different nuances of this new IDR waiver extension. So great news, and hopefully this has been helpful to inspire you to live more humble and quiet life.